going beneath the events, headlines, issues, and trends that may affect our marketplace as we take a closer look.
Well, big tech is now on the federal government's radar. Partly at issue here is anti-competitive tactics employed by these companies. It's been reported that the Justice Department is preparing an antitrust investigation into some of the largest of these tech giants. And that's what we're taking a closer look at now with our very own Chief Equity Strategist and Economist, John Blank. John, break this down for us. It wasn't that long ago that everybody loved these tech giants. What happened here?
Well, Terry, first of all, we should start off with the enforcement is going to happen on two levels. One, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, which will look into Amazon and Facebook, and the other is the Department of Justice, which will look into Apple and Google. So the point of this whole thing is to get fair competition. And these laws, starting in 1890 with the Sherman Act, then going to 1914 with the Clayton Act, put down the framework that is underway. So what is going on here? First off, you have Google, which the Justice Department says Google favors its own products in search results. So Google is faced with this. They've already been fined in the past. Facebook is called a monopoly by its co-founder Chris Hughes, and the idea there is to bust up WhatsApp and Instagram from Facebook. Amazon, half of all online shopping transactions happen on Amazon, and 75%, according to Gartner, of all advertising goes through Facebook or Google. So just amazing. And then the final one, Apple. Apple charges a 30% commission to apps that sit on its it delivers for people 30%, and it is exclusive. So there is another clear case of abuse of power. So it's a medley of things, Terry, and it's two groups, the FTC and the Justice Department, who divvied this up.
All right, those are the real issues here. But we're just in the preliminary stages of this scrutiny. So how long can this go on?
Terry, there's two cases to look back on history. One is IBM, which lasted 13 years, and one is Microsoft, which lasted 11 years. And in many ways, these were debacles. So if you think that's the direction we're going, that's how long it can take. But I think it might be actually 3 or 4 years, or at minimum 2 years, and much less severe than breaking them up, because that's the issue here, is whether there's other ways to deal with this.
Now, if this leads to full-blown complaints or lawsuits, one of the biggest punishments could be multi-billion-dollar fines if a company is found guilty of anti-competitive behavior. What do you see the likelihood of that happening as?
Pretty high for Facebook. I think Facebook is certainly on the way to fining. I think the other ones are more likely to lead to something else. And, I think Facebook, number one, they are likely to get WhatsApp and Instagram hived off, and they're likely to face punishment. Apparently there's 92 companies this Facebook bought in the last 10 or 12 years, and they shut down 39 of them, Terry. So this guy who runs Facebook is clearly a breach of many, many things, and this is probably going to lead to fines there.
And did I hear correctly a moment ago that you don't think the likelihood is too high of these big tech companies actually getting broken up as a result of the investigations?
Past Facebook, no, I don't think the other ones are going to be easily broken up. It's just too hard. I think, for example, you can see bundling issues arriving with Amazon Prime. You can see some injunctions put in place on use of apps on Apple, and you can see some tough negotiations and rules set up for how Google runs its search businesses. But, hiving off, for example, Google from YouTube, they both certainly can stand alone, but there would be no added competition there.
These big technology companies, John, are large U.S. economic drivers up to now. Do these investigations have the potential to slow down that momentum?
Well, the thing we got here is a Wall Street story, which is they already put the momentum into these stocks by bundling so many companies into them over the decades. So, the FANG idea, you basically, as M&A guys, you just go and pitch deals to these groups and build up the earnings and the revenues through mergers and acquisitions over decades. And so, this is just one of the ways we got to mega caps, one of the ways we got to this consolidation, and it's going to be the same path out of the best of them all. So, it all gets back to the way Wall Street works and how they make money for people.
So does this have the potential of materially changing the tech sector as we currently know it?
Changing is a word that is unlikely to, reach. I think changing in the technological sense will far speed past this whole ordeal. So I would think change will happen regardless, and new competitors will rise regardless, and these groups can actually be beaten. We've seen this with IBM and Microsoft. Again, it was really competition in their own evolution of models internally that drove their change, and it was the breakdown of creative destruction that did it. So creative destruction is always in play, and these antitrust things are going to be a secondary side fiddle to that.
Federal government and the companies involved are probably not going to be disclosing too much about these investigations as they progress. So are investors just going to have to live with this cloud over these companies for the time being?
The simple answer is yes. I think that's the answer. Litigation and investigations take time, and it's going to be years of time, and these are well-funded companies. They will litigate, and they will defend themselves. So, you can be guaranteed this is going to be a cloud over these companies for the next 2 years at least.
And I'll go back to the point that I opened with. These companies were allowed to get as big as they are right now. And given that, now comes this new development about potential breakup, even though you don't think that that's where it's going. Does this make for kind of a bizarre situation surrounding these big tech companies?
I don't think so. I think the market has long understood this. I do think, running into the election and the year after it, particularly if you get a Democratic presidential candidate, but really even the Republican incumbent candidate is speaking about this problem. It's just a question of whether there's a different set of faces driving these things at the FTC and the Justice Department, and those are bureaucracies, Terry, and likely these cases just roll into the same groups over any administration. So my guess is this is here to stay, and it's going to bury itself in the bureaucracies for a good piece of time.
Well, bizarre or not, I'm sure one thing is true. There are going to be future interesting developments in this story to take a closer look at. With John Blank and with John, I'm Terry Ruffalo.